Good morning. Welcome back to Planet Doug behind the scenes. And if I look very tired and I sound very tired, that's because I am very tired. It's 7:30 in the morning, Monday? Yeah, Monday, July 17th. And of course, I'm in a brand new environment. I flew from Kuala Lumpur to Sumatra yesterday, and thinking back, I made it a lot more challenging than it needed to be because someone that I know here in the village offered to pick me up because I was going to fly into the Padang airport and then from there take a van, like a shuttle van, takes me up to Bukit Tinggi, and my original plan, of course, was just to have them drop me off at a hotel in Bukit Tinggi, kind of get organized there, and then make my way up to the village and go from there. But yeah, someone offered to just pick me up right at the van drop-off point at their offices and then drive me right here to the village, and that sounded pretty cool. And it did work out really well. Really nice guy, Chatty, you know, a shout out to Chatty. He goes to high school here in Bukit Tinggi, but his family has a house here in Sariak, in the village. And when I was here before, unfortunately, I never got to know him or his family. I don't know why. I mean, our paths just never crossed, even though they're related to the family that owns this house where I'm staying. So you'd think I would somehow have crossed paths with them or gotten to know them, but I never did. And now I wish I had, because Chadi, you know, speaks English. I was talking to him yesterday about his English class at school, and he was showing me his some of his notes and his workbooks from school, and it was all 100%, you know, he got perfect on all his exercises. He speaks English fairly well, and we're able to communicate. And it would have been great to have him here in the village when I was staying here before. But yeah, we never crossed paths. Anyway, so it was really good to meet Chatty, and then he picked me up at about 4:30. That's when I arranged for him to, I told him that's when the van would drop me off, and I was almost right. I ended up being dropped off there at 4 o'clock, but they have the AWR company has an office there, and I can sit inside in comfort and just watch the world around me. AWR is quite a fascinating company because they hustle and they bustle. It's not just airport shuttle. They also, you know, deliver packages, big bundles all over the country, and documents. You know, it's a shipping company, a delivery company, transportation company. Who knows how many things they do, but people are just pouring in and out, arms filled with packages of all varieties, you know, dropping things off to be shipped or coming to pick things up, and then the vans coming and going with all the passengers, and all the packages get piled into the van, you know, along with the passengers. It's a busy place. So it's kind of fun to sit there. So I just hung out there from 4 till 4:30, and Chatty showed up. And then he drove me up here to the village. And along the way, he asked me if I had had dinner, you know, had I had anything to eat, and I hadn't. And he says, well, no problem, you know, you can have dinner at my house. So that was very kind of him. And we drove to his house first. It's about, I don't know, half a kilometer from where I'm staying here. And his mother was there, very kind woman, and she put together a really amazing meal of rendang, you know, the local specialty, homemade rendang, and rice, of course, and an omelet kind of thing, and then a spicy vegetable dish. You know, really, really nice meal. And what often happens to me when I'm spending the day traveling, like by going through airports and things like that, I don't drink enough, and it's partially habit. I just don't tend to drink a lot, but also by choice, because I hate being stuck on vehicles and I need to go to the bathroom. So before I get on a van, you know, the van ride from Padang to Bukit Tinggi is about 2.5 hours long, and it doesn't stop anywhere. So if you're drinking like crazy and then you get on the van and suddenly you need to go to the bathroom, well, you're stuck. I mean, I could probably have talked them into, you know, stopping somewhere, but I don't want to bother the other passengers. Anyway, I don't like being stuck on airplanes or buses or vans for hours at a time, feeling like you have to go to the bathroom. It's just so awful. So I tend to resist drinking. So Anyway, and I sat down for dinner at Chatty's house. They had a big pitcher of drinking water, and I'm just like a camel, you know. I fill up a glass, go 1 glass, it's like, 2 glasses, 3 glasses, and I felt much, much better afterwards. So, boy, I'm so tired. My mind is such a frazzled mess. I can't even remember why I started telling that story. There was a reason for it. Oh yeah, I think I was just talking about how my original plan was to stay in a hotel. And that would have been the better choice, I think, the way things have turned out. But there were advantages to coming right up to the village right away, and that one of them was getting to touch base with Chatty and his family, and having a nice meal there. So that was really nice. It was nice to have a friendly face waiting, you know, to welcome me. And I guess it would have been better to stay at a hotel for a variety of reasons. I won't tell the whole story from yesterday because I shot some video of the trip, and my goal at the beginning was just to shoot little snippets here and there, little highlights, so I could make a short video about the trip, but I don't seem capable of that. I think shooting video for me just instinctively feels like I'm bringing a friend along with me on the trip. So I end up having this conversation into the GoPro. I had my GoPro with me, and I'm talking into the GoPro basically for the entire trip. I started assembling the video that I shot yesterday, and by the time I stopped, exhausted, and I finally had to go to sleep here, you know, turn off the light and go to sleep. I think I already had, did I already have an hour and 45 minutes of video, and I wasn't even on the plane yet? No, I don't think so. I think I had 45 minutes of video, and I still hadn't boarded the plane. So it was 45 minutes of video, just me going to the airport and going through customs and immigration. And by that point, of course, the journey hadn't even started yet. So basically, I'm saying that no matter how I splice this video together, it's going to tell the full story of what happened yesterday. So I don't need to repeat it here, certainly not in detail. But basically, you know, I woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning in Kuala Lumpur. My flight was at 11, but you have to be at the airport by 9, right? 2 hours beforehand. And that means I want to sort of be trying to get the airport bus by, you know, 7 to 7:30, because it could take half an hour for the bus to show up and an hour or more, to depending on traffic, to get to the airport. So I want to be at you know, KL Central by 7-ish, which means, you know, leaving from my hotel 6:30-ish, you know. So even waking up at 5, I was still rushing to get to my plane by 11. Of course, that's partially my fault, because I do like to arrive at every stage leisurely. I don't like to rush. So yeah, waking up at 5 to get on an 11 a.m. flight, and then I had 2.5 hours of waiting in Padang for my van, because it was scheduled for 1:30. I left at 11, but I also arrived at 11 because of the 1 hour time change. So I landed at 11:10, but then I had to wait until 1:30 before the van would pick me up. So I had 2.5 hours to wait at that airport, and boy, that was an adventure. And then 2.5 hours driving to get here, and then, you know, I went to Chatty's house for dinner, and by the time I got here, which was my final destination, it was getting dark. I mean, I think it was 6 o'clock, 6:30, and I was walking into a very difficult situation, and I forgot, to be honest, I forgot how difficult it was, because me and my dumb brain, the way I've organized my life, I landed here just in time for another rainy season to start. It's like, I don't know how I do it. I have an affinity for rain. And to be honest, I wasn't paying attention to the weather patterns because it would just depress me anyway. If it was going to be a rainy season when I got here, I didn't even want to know in advance. I just thought, whatever the weather is, just let it be. You know, it'll be bad enough when I get there. I don't want to anticipate the worst. So I left from Malaysia to come here not even knowing what season it was. But as I said, it's always a rainy season, so it doesn't even matter. If you ever ask anyone, if I arrived anywhere from January to December, pick any month and I ask a local person, you know, what's the weather? So, you know, this is the rainy season. It's always the rainy season. So, oh, I'm boiling water for coffee, so I better mix that up. I'll be right back. I have my coffee, and that kind of relates to the difficulty of arriving here because, yeah, I arrived here relatively late. It was getting dark, and I mentioned the rainy season, and I forgot just how rough it can be up here. So up here in the mountains, I mean, we're not in the Andes or anything, we're not in the Himalayas, but I mean, we're at an altitude where it's cold. You know, it's cold at night, and in the rainy season it's even colder, and it's drizzly and it's damp. Everything is wet. So it's a pretty uncomfortable sort of place up here. Like everything, when I left a whole bunch of stuff here, of course, I left my bike behind and other things, and everything is sort of damp and sticky and kind of moldy and mildewy now. Everything is just a mess. And yeah, all that. And then, of course, I landed here and I don't have water to drink. I mean, there is no water. So the very first thing I have to do is just turn around after I get into the house. And then I had basically to turn around and go out into the village and try and find somewhere where I can get water. But up here in the village, it's not like you're in a city. It's not Bukittinggi. There are no stores, really. I knew of one little village shop that might have water, you know, bottled water. And I wasn't sure if it would be open or not. And as I left from here, you know, again, it was dark. The sun had gone down completely. So I'm walking through the village in the dark, and I'm just stumbling and babbling because I'm so tired after my long day. And I had to go out and get water. And I did find a place, and they had, you know, bottles of aqua, drinking water. So I got some water in advance because I knew I'd want a cup of coffee when I woke up in the morning. And I've got my own kettle here in this room, so I can boil some water in here for coffee. Yeah, I'm all over the place with this story, but that's a reflection of my brain and a reflection of already having told this whole story on video. Actual video rather than behind the scenes video. So I don't want to dive into all the details too much. I'll just be repeating myself, and I'd be here for 3 hours if I told the whole story. Leaving Malaysia worked out well. Getting to the airport, I got the airport bus. I arrived there with 1 minute to spare, which I didn't realize. A bus was sitting there waiting with the door open, and a woman was standing at the door, you know, and I walked by her, and I wasn't clear when the bus was going to go, so I wanted to make sure she understood, you know, wait for me, I have to get a ticket first, and then I'll come back. So I was moving quickly just in case, and it turns out it was really lucky that I did move quickly because I got the ticket, and just as I got the ticket for 15 ringgit, they were on their way, they were leaving. They were like, okay, we're going, you know, so I dashed to the door, get on board, and they closed the door behind me just as I got on, and then the bus took off. So basically I got there at about 7:29, and the bus left at 7:30, and there was even a sign on the bus ticket office that said, you know, leaving at 7:30. And I'd never seen that before. I'd never seen them have any kind of a schedule. So I didn't know that there was a 7:30 bus, and I have no idea when the next bus was going to go. But anyway, I was very lucky that I got it 1 minute before departure. That was very nice. So that worked well, and that got me to the airport within plenty of time, and I pretty much sailed through the process, you know, checking in and dropping out. It's all self-check-in now, and you drop off your luggage by yourself. You scan everything yourself. You get your luggage tags by yourself. You know, you check in online. You don't do any of this at an AirAsia counter anymore. That went smoothly, and I went through all the security checks smoothly. I put a lot of thought into making sure I would be okay, that I would have everything I needed, because I think these days people don't get in as much trouble as I would expect, to be honest, because a lot of people try very hard not to have a checked bag to save money. So they try to have as small amount of luggage as possible so they can bring all their luggage as carry-on luggage. So they bring all their luggage as carry-on, but I don't know how they do that because, like, maybe I'm unusual, but in my luggage I will at least have a pocket knife. I mean, no matter where I go, I always have some kind of a knife. In this case, I had two knives. I had a Swiss Army knife, a big one, and then a tiny little Swiss Army knife that I always carry around in my knapsack. So I have to make sure I don't have those knives in my carry-on bag, and on and on and on. Like every piece of metal that might be suspect, I make sure it's in my checked bag. So all these other people, I don't know, you know, I have scissors. I travel with 2 pairs of scissors, one for wet plastic and one for paper, and that's on top of my knives. And normally I would also have tools, you know, like a Leatherman, things like that, which I left behind here, but normally I would have a Leatherman in my luggage as well. So obviously I can't take that onto the airplane, so I have to put it all in my checked bag. So all these people that have no checked baggage, how do they do it? I mean, are they knifeless people? How do they live without a pocket knife, you know? I guess you can do it, but... And nail clippers, you know, I have like big toenail clippers, and they can be confiscated, I think. I make sure they don't go in my carry-on either, but anyway. So I prepared as well as I could in advance. And I didn't have any trouble at all with immigration. I just sailed through there, and I was there in plenty of time to get on my plane. I mean, there were hurdles all along the way. There were difficulties and things that I could talk about, but those are all in the main video, so I won't get into it in depth. The main point is that, yeah, I just kind of sailed through, was on the plane, went up, hour and 10 minutes later, went down, and on the Indonesian side, basically, I also sailed through. Immigration took a hard look at me. They asked a lot of questions, in-depth questions about what I'm doing in Indonesia, where I'm staying, where I'm come from, where I'm going, just to make sure that I am who I say I am, I guess, and that I'm a tourist. I had a little bit of trouble with my luggage because I wasn't traveling with any kind of normal luggage. I didn't have a backpack or anything. I didn't have a suitcase with wheels because technically I'm supposed to be, you know, bike touring, so all my bags are bicycle bags. And then you have all those bicycle bags, and if you're not using them, then basically all I had was like these cheap market bags you can buy for next to nothing that are just have a nylon square or nylon rectangular bag, you know, with a handle on the top and a little zipper. They're designed to be used once or twice and then they fall apart. But basically I had to carry that thing around, and it was so awkward, you know, carrying it on my shoulder or carrying it in my arms. My arms, I woke up this morning and I was stumbling around, more about that in a minute, and my arms hurt. It's like my biceps are really sore, and I'm like, ow, 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 ow. Like, why do my arms hurt so much? It was because I was carrying that luggage around. It only weighed, I think, 9 kilograms, but it was just such an awkward load, and I carried it long distances, you know, through all the airports. And like going from my hotel to KL Central to get on the airport bus, you know, I had to carry that thing the whole way. And yeah, it's not like a suitcase with wheels, and it wasn't a backpack, so it was really awkward to carry, and my arms are sore today, which sort of shows that the most exercise I've gotten for a long time is lifting this cup of coffee. You know, that's as much work as I do with my arms, other than holding onto a GoPro. So I don't have a lot of musculature at the moment. I don't have a lot of developed muscle power. So there I was at the Padang airport, and that's when the real trouble began, because I knew there could be trouble, and there was trouble. Last time I was here, I started with a smartphone, got a SIM card, but they have a new system in Indonesia where you have to register your phone with customs. And that was done, but it turns out that whether this is the way the policy is supposed to work or not, I don't understand. But in my case, after 90 days, your registration with customs expires and they block your phone. So this is an important distinction. They don't block the SIM card. Like, I have an Indonesian SIM card, I have credit, I have data, everything's up to date, everything works. So the SIM card is fine, my account is fine, but the phone is blocked it won't work. And then when I was in Sumatra last time, when that happened, I tried to get it fixed and nobody could fix it for me. There's nothing I could do. So all I could do was buy a new SIM card and put it into a second phone because I had 2 smartphones. And that was the smartphone I was using on my second trip into Sumatra, this being my third. So my second phone, with a working SIM card, with money and credit and everything, I flew into the Padang airport with that phone. And of course, when I arrived and I turned it on, it's blocked too, because it was also registered with customs, and 90 days have passed since that registration. Like, it doesn't mean 90 days in Indonesia, it just means 90 days total. After 90 days, your customs registration expires and they block your phone and you can't use it anymore. Ever. Like, you can never, for the rest of your life, bring that phone into Indonesia ever again. You can use it one time for 90 days and then they block it. So my first phone was blocked, my second phone was blocked, and luckily, I'm such a dummy, I have 3 phones. Like, one phone is my main phone that I use day to day. The second phone has been my video editing phone. Those are my 2 good phones. And then I've got this piece of junk Xiaomi phone over here. That was my third phone. And it's a cheapo, you know, mid-range phone that has tons of glitches. And I use it as a podcast player and music player and for morning alarms. So it's my bedside phone. I just kept it. Like, when I got my other 2 phones, they're better. Like, one's a Samsung Galaxy Note and the other one's a Galaxy S10, I guess. Both slightly older phones. They were given to me by a Planet Doug subscriber, in fact. And they're amazing phones. They're the best phones I've ever owned. Like, in my own personal life, I've never bought like high-end phones of my own, and these were, you know, top of the line when they were new. So pretty amazing to have those 2 phones. But I can't use either one because Indonesian customs has put a block on both of them, and I have to use this one now, I guess. But anyway, when I was at the airport, I did everything I could think of to try to get one of my phones working, because I did have like a working SIM card. I put it into this phone, but no, it won't work, because I did say there is a distinction between the SIM and the phone. They block the phone, but not the SIM. The SIM still works, but the SIM is connected to that phone's IMEI number. And when I put the SIM number into the SIM card into this phone, it won't work. I get the same error message. And I tried everything I could think of, because you get a weird message when this happens. It says SIM 1 disallowed. That's the signal that customs has blocked your phone. But of course, my phones are dual SIM. So SIM 1 disallowed, maybe I can put it into the SIM 2 tray. So on each of my phones, I did, I don't know how many tests, 6 in total, I guess. I put the SIM card in both slots on one phone, and which means, of course, turning off the phone, you know, opening it up, putting in the SIM card, closing it up, rebooting it, checking it, no, doesn't work, shutting it down, taking out the SIM, putting it in the other SIM tray, firing it up, no, it doesn't work, go to the next phone, 2 times there, third phone, 2 times there. And then the dumbest thing ever happened. I decided that, okay, this was not going to work, and I thought maybe I could just get a new SIM card, put it in my Xiaomi. Didn't want to do that, because it drives me crazy buying all these SIM cards in Indonesia. But at the airport, I didn't see too many SIM card places. I only saw one for a company called Maxim. And I thought it was a SIM card company because in Indonesia, I mean in Malaysia, I think there is a company called Maxim. It's a mobile provider, right? Mobile services provider. So I thought, oh, look, there's a Maxim outlet. So I could get a SIM card over there. So I go over to that counter thinking that maybe they could fix my SIM, my Telkomsel SIM. Maybe they can fix it. If not, I can buy a new Maxim SIM and put it in this phone. And I end up doing this long conversation with this guy. A whole bunch of other people came crowding around. trying to interpret, trying to help, and I'm talking about SIM cards and email numbers and customs and blocking the phone and SIM 1 and SIM 2 and this and this, on and on and on. And I checked with the guy whether he could speak English, and he said that he could. So we're doing all this in English, and then I find out later on it's not a SIM card company in Indonesia. Maxim is like a delivery company like Grab or something. So this guy, he probably went home last night telling all his family and friends, yeah, I met this foreigner today, complete moron. He came up to me at my job, you know, where I'm booking taxis for people, and he wanted me to fix his phone, and he wanted me to sell him a SIM card. You know, it's like, how dumb are these Canadians? I don't understand it. But I thought it was a SIM card guy, Maxim. So anyway, I was completely wrong about that. So that was a big part of why my arrival was so difficult, and why coming right up here to the village was maybe not the best choice, because I have no access to the internet. Like I'm recording this on a camera, of course, but it's not like I can upload this video to the internet because I have no internet. There's no Wi-Fi here, of course. There's no Wi-Fi in the village. Certainly no Wi-Fi that I have access to. And now I have no internet at all. My phones don't work. I can't do anything. I can't book hotel rooms. I can't communicate with people and tell them that I arrived safely. I can't send messages. I'm completely cut off up here. And yeah, it's so frustrating. I was in a very bad mood last night, and that's one of the reasons I'm so tired. I had trouble sleeping because I was a little bit overwhelmed with the trip to get here, and then being here and being reunited with my bicycle, and rainy season. And I mean, it would be different if the sun was shining and it was bright and blue and warm skies and everything looked amazing, and if my phone worked, and as soon as I land here, then I could just, you know, oil the chain on my bike and then go riding and explore Sumatra as I planned. But that's not going to happen, because I don't think I'm not even going to do it today. I don't think. I can't face it. But first thing I have to do is get a SIM card, get a phone working. So, and the only way to do that is to go into Bukit Tinggi. So I could do it this morning. I may do it. I have to get on my bike and ride all the way into Bukit Tinggi, go to Telkomsel, see if they can fix my phone. But basically I have to spend the entire day just trying to get a SIM card and get a phone up and running, right? And as I talked about in a previous video, with a 30-day visa, the time goes by so quickly, and already I can feel, you know, my arrival day was yesterday, so now I only have 29 days left. Today is going to be all about just getting a SIM card, so the whole day is going to be devoted to just getting online. So that's now I'm down to 28 days, and you know, on and on and on. And at the airport, as they told me, if I want to extend my 30-day visa, the guy talked to me at length, and he says, okay, you must go to immigration 7 days before your visa expires. So really I have whatever, starting off 23 days before I now have to go to immigration to start all over again to apply for the visa extension. And that could take a week to get. You know, you see what I mean? It's like, So I'm feeling kind of depressed, to be honest. I'm feeling overwhelmed, feeling depressed, feeling gloomy. And as I said, up here in the village area, it's cold. It's freezing cold. Luckily, of course, I'm outfitted for that. So I have a sleeping bag up here. Like if I didn't have my sleeping bag, I wouldn't have been able to sleep last night. It would have been too cold. And it's kind of funny too. So you know, this house is not normally lived in. There's a caretaker family in the back, but the family that owns this house, they kind of use it as a, you know, it's a family home that they've owned for generations, but they all live in more modern homes in, you know, Pekanbaru and Bandung. I think they're actually from West Java. And yeah, nobody lives here permanently, so it's not really set up. It's been large. They use it for family gatherings, you know, when this is their home village, their ancestral home. So if somebody has a big family event, maybe there's a wedding or a big birthday or funeral perhaps, the whole family comes back, and then they open up all the rooms and everybody piles in here. And of course, people here in the village, they all have families. The only reason they can survive in the village is most of them are farmers, and they do all their own cooking, and you know, they don't live the kind of life that I would live normally, where I'm normally in a city of a town or a city, and then when it's time to eat, you go outside and you pop into the cafe next door and have a bowl of noodles and mi ayam bakso or stuff like that. You know, you need water, you go buy water, but none of that is available here. So when you're here on your own, of course, feeding yourself and getting drinking water and all these normal day-to-day things that are taken care of by families within the family unit. So when I was staying here last time, yeah, it's a bit of a rough. I enjoy it. I like being in this setting. It's interesting to be in a village like this, but it does come with physical hardships. And there's a bathroom here that I can use. It's indoor bathroom. I don't have to go outside for that. But it isn't. I mean, when I was staying in Malaysia, I was staying in a basic budget hotel, but it was still pretty nice, with, you know, air conditioning and good Wi-Fi, comfortable bed, clean and dry, and you know, of course, the air conditioner dries the air as it cools it. And I had my own bathroom with hot water, that sort of thing. Basically, living a life of luxury. But here, it's just cold water right out of the tap. It's basically a mountain river, and they funnel the water into the bathroom. So yeah, I mean, I took a shower yesterday, of course, when I arrived, and I took another one this morning. And when I got out of bed this morning, you know, I'm walking around inside this room in my shorts, and I'm just like shivering because it's so cold up here. I'm so cold. And then you go into that bathroom and you're about to take a bucket bath. It's like not a shower or anything. You just fill buckets, and you've got a little ladle, you know, and you dump water on your head. But I feel like I should have a phone in there with me, ready to speed dial 911 or whatever the local equivalent is, because it feels like when that water hits my head, hits my body in the early morning, it's probably going to spark a heart attack. It feels like that, you know. And I'm pretty good about stuff like that. I'm tough. So to me, it's not it's like, oh, it's going to, you know, I just do it. You know, I try to cultivate a manly man approach to these things. I don't worry about it that much. I just walk in there, take off my shorts, and just, you know, you get it over with. It's like ripping the Band-Aid off. I don't sit there with the Band-Aid going, ooh, 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 you know, little by little, you know, rip it off. It's going to hurt, so just get it off. It's going to be ice cold. It's going to hit your body like an electric shock. But, hey, just do it, you know. Doosh, doosh. It's just like, so cold. And yeah, you think, man, that could give you a heart attack. So like I said, it's like I need a phone on speed dial that, okay, I'm going to need an ambulance in a second, you know. But yeah, the worst thing you can do with cold water bucket baths is ease into them. It's just like going into a cold lake, easing in. No, that's the worst thing to do. If you have to dive into the cold water, just dive in, just get it over with. Because if you ease in, it's much, much more difficult to go in slowly. It's better just to get it over with, do it all at once, you know. Yeah. Anyway, that's kind of the rough story of yesterday. And I'm not sure what I'm going to do today. I may just spend the day here. I need to decompress. I didn't get any sleep, so I don't think I'm ready to face Telkomsel and the SIM card adventure. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow morning. I think I'll just stay here, kind of get organized and spend the day. I'm going to edit the video from yesterday as best I can. Hang out here. Yeah, I need a day. So again, yeah, I said I'm a little bit depressed and feeling a little bit gloomy, and I think that has a lot to do with, I think, going way back. I don't like to do this. I don't like to look back and say that was a mistake and wish I had done something differently. I find that's a fool's errand to think like that. But, you know, like to think, oh, you know, if I could do it all over again, I would do it differently, that sort of thing. Doesn't benefit you to live your life thinking that way. So I try not to, but maybe I'll make an exception in this case. But coming here to Indonesia with my bicycle, intending to do a bicycle tour, I think was largely a mistake, just because of the mechanics of it. How short the visa period is, you know, 30-day visa on arrival, that's all you get. That isn't enough for my style of living and for bike touring in particular. The physical difficulty, like when I first arrived, when I first got here with the bike, you know, it was very, very hot, and I hadn't been cycling for a long time, and I tried to do too much too soon, and I seemed to have screwed up my knees, and I wasn't able to cycle for a long time because my knees were damaged. So that led into, I did all the work of bringing the bike here, getting the bike ready, with the subset of activities of trying to figure out how to record video on a bicycle while you're riding, and that ended up taking so much of my time, so much of my brain power. So I had all that to deal with, and then, you know, riding, when I was able to ride the bike, riding all day, and then trying to shoot video and edit video and upload to YouTube. It's simply the way I live, the way I am. It's too much to do. And the highways, they're not highways, but the roads here on Sumatra were just overwhelming with the amount of traffic on them. Deadly dangerous traffic with the huge trucks thundering past all the time. The narrow roads. Riding a bike was just no fun. So I think all of that was one of the reasons it took me so long to come back. I went to Malaysia intending to stay there a short time, but then I think subconsciously I knew what was waiting for me when I came back here, and I just delayed. You know, I got sick when I was in KL, and that lasted a full month, which was partially to blame for how long it took me to get back here. But I think deep down, I didn't even mind being sick because it meant I could delay this moment of gloom, you know, when I got back here. And it's like, oh, what am I doing here with all this bike gear? It's just, to be honest, yesterday I was in the mood to just walk out the door. I was just going to grab my GoPro, And if this video looks different or sounds different, by the way, it's because I'm using my Olympus camera, because I had my Olympus here. Such a beautiful camera. It's an overwhelming camera in a way, very complicated and difficult to use, but it's such a solid platform for everything compared to a GoPro. I mean, a GoPro is just such a finicky, fidgety, difficult machine to work with. It's such a relief to just set up the Olympus on its tripod here, hit record, and because of the micro four thirds sensor and my f2 lens, even here in the room, it's really dark. Maybe you're not even aware of it, but I've got one tiny, tiny light bulb up there, and there's no sunshine. There's no windows open, no sunshine coming in. I don't think there's sunshine out there anyway. It's just gloomy and dark in here. With the GoPro, you would see that, but on this Olympus, it's nice and bright, and I think it is bright anyway. I can see the LCD screen on the right there out of the corner of my eye, and it looks nice and bright. So I think it looks better than the GoPro. So I have that camera, and yesterday all I wanted to do, I took a look at my bike, I took a look at all my bike gear, everything I have here, and I thought, I just want to grab a bag, like my knapsack, put the GoPro in it, put the Olympus in it, one t-shirt, a toothbrush, and I just wanted to walk out the door and just walk into Bukit Tinggi, you know, just leave my bike here and just sort of see you later. You know, it's been nice, but my life is too complicated now. Life is too complex. That cycling is just not for me anymore. To be honest, that's how I felt when I arrived. And I feel largely the same this morning. It's like, it's going to be so much work just getting a SIM card up and running, getting the bike packed up and then going somewhere. And I'm just, yeah, when I got, last time I was here towards the end, you know, I built this pretty fancy system using a piece of wood, you know, like an axe handle, a stiff piece of wood. I drilled a hole in the bottom, and I developed this very complex mounting system that I could use that stick to mount my GoPro on my bicycle. And towards the end of my time here, I was out cycling around and I wasn't using it. I just had it inside one of my pannier bags, and I didn't notice it, but the stick fell out and I lost it. So then I had to buy something else, and I spent a long time trying to find a replacement. Couldn't find one, and all I could find was like a broomstick. So I bought a broom, seemed to be the right length, and I removed the broom part, and I drilled a hole in the bottom of that and got it all set up and mounted it on my bicycle. But now that I've come back to the house, it's gone. I don't know where it is. I was staying in a different room here. This is a new room. I was staying in the other bedroom over there, and all of my stuff, I tried to leave it behind as organized as I could, but it was still kind of laid out on the bed. And then they needed that room for something else, I guess, the family, when they had kind of a family gathering here. And then they moved all my stuff into this room. And then in the move, I guess they didn't know that the broomstick was part of my gear, and I guess maybe they threw it in the fire, or they turned it into a broom somewhere. Anyway, the broomstick is gone, so I've got to get a SIM card, and now I've got to go out looking for another stick that is suitable for setting up my GoPro. That's probably going to be another day, just figuring out how to mount the camera all over again. And the funny thing is, I've had flip-flop stories. Last time I was in Sumatra, riding my bike somewhere, and I stopped for lunch, and I was wearing flip-flops while I was riding the bike that day, and I took my flip-flops off at the restaurant, went in to eat, and then when I came out, the son of the family had taken one of my flip-flops, you know, so he left with one of his flip-flops and one of mine, and he left his old, worn out, you know, piece of junk flip-flop behind. Took my good one and left his dirty, old, ruined one behind. So that was a funny story from before, and I didn't bring my flip-flops to Malaysia. I wanted to bring as little as possible when I went there, so I just left my flip-flops here. I didn't think I would need them, but they're gone too. You know, like flip-flops in this part of the world are kind of communal property. You can't really leave them anywhere because people go in and out of rooms, in and out of houses all the time, just kicking off flip-flops. They go in, go back out, slip into flip-flops, and go away again. And if you leave flip-flops anywhere, at some point, someone's just going to put them on and take off with them. It's like umbrellas, you know, if you leave an umbrella somewhere, at some point, someone's going to grab it and take off with it. So I think my flip-flops are gone as well. So I guess I have to go shopping for new flip-flops, because I do need them here when I go to the bathroom here. I'm talking about me being manly man, and I don't mind the cold water, but on your bare feet, in that tile in there with that cold water, and the house is a little bit, they've got a lot of termites. They're just eating this house to pieces. You know, all the wood is being chewed up, and there's like termite dust everywhere. So everywhere you go, your feet get dirty everywhere you walk. And yeah, it's just nice to have flip-flops, and then you can go to the bathroom, you know, wearing your flip-flops, and your feet aren't quite as cold. Like right now, I took a cold shower, and my upper body has warmed up again, but my feet are still ice cold. My feet haven't warmed up yet. I've got them underneath a blanket trying to warm them up, but they still feel like I was out there walking in the snow. They're so cold. So I think I have to go shopping for flip-flops as well. But yeah, like I said, man, if I had a backpack here, a good one, I'd be tempted. But obviously, I'm not going to do that. But that was my mood yesterday. If I do want to get rid of the bicycle, at least I will wait until Malaysia to do that. You know, to a certain extent, I'm going to follow through on my plans to do some cycling here, depending on the weather. I mean, if it just rains all the time, I'm not going to bother. I mean, when I was coming here and I was in Kuala Lumpur, in fantasy land, it's so easy to design a fantasy trip when you're sitting in comfort, in luxury, you know, in Kuala Lumpur. There I was talking on video about all my thoughts. So maybe I can do this, maybe I can do that. And I was picturing getting on the bike and riding all the way down to Bengkulu, which is about 700 kilometers away. And I pictured myself cycling along the coast, you know, along the ocean, beaches, waves, sun, and I'd camp out at night near the ocean and nice and warm in the sun, and I can go swimming. And yeah, rainy season, right? No, it's going to be wet and cold the entire time. So I don't even know why I was thinking about doing that. That's pretty funny. But yeah, when you're sitting inside a warm, dry room in comfort and you get out your Google Maps and you're thinking about going on a bike tour, you're very eager to draw lines. You know, I'll go here and then I'll go here and I'll go here. And yesterday, to be honest, man, oh man, oh man, I took the AWR van from the airport up to here. And I never did that road before because I've only gone down before. And when I went down last time, it was during Ramadan, and they made that highway one way. So it was a one-way, I keep calling it a highway, it's a road. It's a one-way road from the coast up to Bukitingi because the traffic flow is so heavy that if they had two-way traffic, it would have been total gridlock. It would have been a gridlock that lasted the whole month. So around the holiday period, like the big travel days, they made it one way. So when I went to the airport, it was a one-way day, and we had to go through the countryside, way off on these smaller, zigzaggy roads all the way down to the airport. We couldn't take the main road. I'm thinking now, I have a vague memory of seeing it before. Am I telling a lie? I tell a lot of lies, it seems, just because my memory is so faulty. What happened? It feels like I have seen that road before now that I think about it. How could that be? Anyway, I never came up that road for sure. So yesterday was the first time I came up that road, and the level of traffic was like, oh, for Pete's sake, I don't want to ride my bike on that. Like if I do ride my bike down to the coast and whatnot, and I got to come back up, I'd probably end up on that road. And the traffic level, the trucks and the buses and everybody passing on blind curves, and the steepness of it, I mean, just the curves, and I think my knees would just explode, I think, if I tried to do that, because I have a fairly heavy load with all my camera gear, and I have camping gear and stuff like that. And so yeah, my bike is a heavy beast to ride, and I don't know if I could even make it up that mountain, you know, on those mountain roads. It's just way too steep. So yesterday when I was coming up here in the van, I had the front seat and I could look out the windshield. I was like, man, I don't know if I want to ride a bike up this road anyway. So yeah, we'll see how things turn out. But of course, if I don't do, you know, a substantial amount of bike touring while I'm here, then of course it's like, well, all that work I did to get here was kind of a waste of time. But hey, you live and you learn. Maybe my mood will become much better by tomorrow, or if I get a SIM card today or something. Maybe once I have internet access, you know, one thing at a time. You know, you can't deal with all your problems at once. All you can do is do one thing at a time, and hopefully it all works out in the end. There is one story I can tell from yesterday that I didn't tell on the video because I don't think I even understood what was happening. And I didn't understand until I got to Bukitingi. But I had arranged with a company called AWR. I was sending WhatsApp messages back and forth for days before my trip, trying to arrange a time to get picked up at the airport. And I wanted to make sure this was nailed down because I knew there was a chance that I would have no internet access when I landed. So I would not be able to communicate at the airport when I arrived here. So I wanted them to understand that okay, when I get there, I may not have access to the internet, so I won't be able to receive a message, I won't be able to message you, so I want to make arrangements in advance about the time that you will pick me up at the airport. So I had all of this, you know, going on. This mattress is really hard. my butt is losing feeling. Oh, that hurts. It's fine for sleeping, like a hard mattress like this. It's kind of a really hard, lumpy one. It's okay for me for sleeping. I like a hard mattress better, I think, than a soft one. But then when you're sitting on it like this, and oh yeah, my butt. There's no blood flow down there. Ouch. Anyway, so I was trying to make all these arrangements with them. But at the airport, it was a weird thing happened because I did have internet access at the beginning, because it turns out I saw this online. I was looking for information about the Padang Minangkabau International Airport, and I saw a notice somewhere that they have public Wi-Fi, free access, you know, public Wi-Fi. So I thought, I doubted that would exist, but I thought, okay, that might help me out a little bit. And when I landed there, I checked, and they did have it, and it worked. And you didn't need a password or anything like that to get on it. But when you did get on it, it gave you a lot of warning messages about security, that this is completely unsecured. And I don't know where all the warning messages were coming from, but it freaked me out. So I didn't really want to use it a lot, but I was able to send a message to AWR and say, okay, I'm here. I've arrived. My plane was on time, so I will be here, you know, at 1:30 when your van arrives. And that ended up being a little bit of an issue because I had 2.5 hours to kill. And I'm at the airport, and I walked all the way, I'm outside the airport. Now, you're not inside the airport. That's another thing. There's nothing on the inside. So when you go through customs and immigration, you're basically outside the airport. Like once you go through customs, the next door, boom, you're in the outside world, you know, in the heat and the rain or whatever is going on out there. You're not sitting inside an air-conditioned building or anything like that. You're out there in the world. And it's busy, frantically busy, you know. The people of Sumatra, the people of Indonesia are on the go, let me tell you. They're flying everywhere, so people just pouring in and out, I mean, luggage going in and out. It was a pretty chaotic scene. So it's not a very relaxing place to be for a long time. And of course, I'm hanging out there for 2.5 hours, and there's a lot of people there offering services, taxis and shuttle buses and on and on and on. So every time I went out walking anywhere, of course, everybody's trying to, you know, what do you need? What do you need, sir? You know, taxi and this, that. And I have to tell everyone, oh, no, thank you. No, thank you. I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm okay. But anyway, I thought what I could do at least is find the nicest coffee shop I can find, a place I can sit down. And I walked all the way along the outside of the airport, and I did find a place where I could go inside, where it's quiet, air-conditioned. They had tables and chairs where I could sit in relative comfort. And I thought, oh, finally, I can just sit here. I'll get out my tablet and I'll watch a movie or something. I'll play around with my GoPro. I'll try and get my phones running. I can sit here in comfort. I ordered a hot cappuccino, and I got everything settled in. I got all unpacked, and I can just sit here and wait in comfort. And it was right beside the bathrooms, which was an important point. The bathrooms are right there, and I can just sit there, and then when the van comes, they'll send me a message. Okay, we're on our way. We'll be there in 5 minutes. Perfect. I can jump up, go to the bathroom, rush outside, hop in the van. So I get all settled. I'm all organized. I'm happy as I can be in this situation. And then I sit down and I look at my phone. The Wi-Fi doesn't reach that far because I had gone over to the departures section outside the airport, but now I was more on the departures end rather than arrivals. And the public Wi-Fi is only available at arrivals. It's for people arriving, I guess, because they need to make arrangements. And in departures, there is no public Wi-Fi. So if it is there, it certainly didn't reach me, and it did not reach inside this coffee shop. So it was like after all that unpacking and settling in and ordering my coffee and everything, now I'm like, ugh, I can't stay here. I have to stay somewhere where there is Wi-Fi so I can see when they send me a message. So anyway, I drank my cappuccino, and then eventually I had to get up and pack up everything again, and I'm back out and wandering outside the airport, and I've got my ungainly luggage over my shoulder again, and my biceps are hurting because of that. And it's a terrible thing too, because I've got these reading glasses around my neck, and it's really dangerous to do. I've done this in the past, where if I have awkward luggage and I hold it in my arms, I always forget my glasses are here, and I'll pull the bag against my chest and I'll break my glasses every single time. I've done it so many times, and I nearly did it yesterday a few times. It's like, so I'm trying to put my glasses over here and around my back, and I'm still doing some GoPro recording. So I've got a microphone around my neck, and this cord gets tangled up in the microphone cord, and I'm holding onto my luggage, and I got the GoPro. It was just such a difficult scene. But anyway, so there I am walking all the way down the airport again. Everyone, taxi, taxi, taxi. Oh, no, thank you, no, thank you. I'm okay, I'm okay. And I had to find somewhere else to sit. And then at one point, a guy comes running up to me with a phone in his hand, and he's got my picture on his phone. And it turns out it's my profile photo from WhatsApp. And he shows it to me. Okay, is this you? Is this you? Is this you? And I was like, yeah, that's me. And he says, come, 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 come. He's the guy from AWR. So the van was being organized, and he was looking for me. And then I walked with him all the way to the other end of the airport, where back at arrivals, international arrivals, and then suddenly I saw I had Wi-Fi access again, but I had to log in again. You got to go through the sign-up procedure, and because I got kicked out of the system when I left, and I had to sign in again. And then as soon as I signed in, his messages started popping up. And he was trying to find me all this time. We're here, sir. Where are you, sir? Can I find you, sir? Where are you, sir? We're here, sir. Sending me all these messages, and I'm not getting them because I'm in Wi-Fi no man's land trying to enjoy my coffee, but there is no Wi-Fi. And this all is happening because of the stupid customs department in Indonesia blocking all my phones, and my SIM cards won't work. By the way, I've talked to local people about this, and they say there's one man in the government who was the head of customs. It was his idea and his policy. He's the one that set this up, and he was just arrested for corruption. That's what people are telling me. So he got karma caught up with him. He made my life so difficult, and I assume, oh yeah, my second cousin too, he was here in Sumatra. Yeah, my cousin was traveling around Indonesia, and he ran into the same problem, where he had to live without the internet for weeks because his SIM card was canceled because of this whole phone customs IMEI regulations that they have set in place. And recently, he was talking to me. He's planning on traveling again. He was thinking, well, where could I go? And he basically said, I'll never, no, not Indonesia, forget it. I cannot deal with that smartphone problem, So his choices were between, the Philippines and Thailand and wherever, all these countries. Indonesia, he was like, nope, not going there until they fix this SIM card smartphone thing. No, it's not a chance. I'm not going to live without my smartphone for weeks. So yeah, it hurts the country, I think. Anyway. So yeah, the man who put this policy into place, apparently he was charged with corruption. I don't know if he's in jail or whether the charge is stuck, or most of the time, whenever I see these articles online about politicians who became millionaires just by corruption, they always get charged with stuff, but nothing bad ever seems to happen to them. I find the world a very depressing place because of that. I was reading a story when I was still in Malaysia that just depressed me to no end. It was about Canada, and it was a story from the National Post, which is a reputable media outlet in Canada. It's like our national news outlet. And I guess their journalists have been doing investigative reporting on the spending habits of the Governor General of Canada. And through freedom of information, they can get access to all these records. And I guess they've been posting a lot of these articles, but the article I read was about how the Governor General went to Iceland on some sort of a diplomatic trip. You know, the Governor General, I don't know exactly what their role is, but they perform, you know, diplomatic functions for Canada. And I think it's a woman, I don't know her name, but she went to Iceland on this like 4-day diplomatic mission or something. And as the article pointed out, Reykjavik, the capital, is a very small city. It's not like a metropolis, you know, it's not New York City or anything. It's not Kuala Lumpur, you know, it's not a vast, it's not Bangkok. It's a small, very contained kind of place. And the hotel of the Governor General was here, and the meeting spot for all the diplomatic meetings was at another government building or meeting hall that might be 200 meters down the road over here. But basically all the places she needed to go were within a few city blocks, and yet she racked up luxury limousine bills of $77,000 for luxury limousines to take her from her hotel to these little meetings and things. $77,000 over a very short period of time, you know, for luxury limousine services. And they went on and on. They detailed, you know, how many hundreds of thousands of dollars she spent on this trip for luxury hotels, luxury foods, you know, all the best of everything, the best wine, the best that. And to me, that's the worst thing. I hate reading stories like that, but they seem so common in government. It's like, is there no honor in government? You know, even in Canada. I don't understand these things. I really don't. Anyway. But anyway, the head of customs, who is making my life miserable, has been charged with corruption, I am told by people here. So karma caught up with him, perhaps. But anyway, to finish my story, I met up with this guy from AWR, and one issue with this whole meeting the van at AWR was I didn't know where. Like in all of our communication, they never said anything about a pickup point. So I just assumed I have to wander around the airport all afternoon, all day, and just sort of looking for their van. And if they can't send me a message that says, okay, we're here now, we are parked over here, you know, basically I have to just walk up and down, up and down, up and down, looking for them until they show up. But then when this guy found me and he brought me to an AWR desk. But it turns out that this company, AWR, I mean, that's what I was looking for when I was walking all around the airport. I was looking for an AWR office or an AWR counter or AWR booth, because at this airport they had a lot of very simple booths lined up along the sidewalk. I mean, they weren't buildings, they just put down a little desk with a chair and a sign. And I was looking for AWR, and I didn't see one anywhere, so I just assumed there was no such thing. But it turns out that their van section is called AWR Travel. So this booth had a sign on it that said Travel. And I didn't know that was AWR. Had I known that there was a booth for this company, that would have made life so much easier, because I wouldn't have had to wander up and down the airport constantly on the lookout for this van. I could have gone directly to the travel booth and there would have been somebody there, and I could have said, oh, I'm here, and I could have left my luggage there. They would have taken care of it for me. I wouldn't have had to carry it around all the time. So I kind of blame them for that. In previous videos, I was talking about how organized AWR is and how professional they are, because I'm communicating with them in English on WhatsApp. And they would reply to all my questions. They answered all my questions in proper English with lots of information, very friendly. So I praise the company highly. But in all of our communication, which went on for several days about picking me up at the airport, they didn't tell me two things. The two most important things they did not tell me. One is they have a booth there. They should have told me, like, when you get to the airport, look for the travel booth, and then you can check in on the van for the van there. And they could have told me it's not AWR. You know, maybe there was AWR, like a tiny, tiny logo, maybe, and it was so small that I didn't see it, but it basically said travel. And I didn't know that. I had no idea that it was called travel. I just kept calling them AWR. I just thought the name of the van company was AWR, but technically it's travel. And AWR is the blanket organization for, you know, deliveries and packages, all the other stuff they do. That's AWR, but this is travel. And of course, as a customer, they should have told me, you know, when you arrive at the airport, just go outside and look for the travel booth. But I didn't know it existed, and they didn't tell me. And equally important, I just assumed that the AWR office was in downtown Padang, and then the van would be loaded up with people in Padang, and then they would drive past the airport, pick me up, and then go to Bukit Tinggi. So I was waiting for the big AWR van to come pick me up. And then we would just go straight to Bukit Tinggi, which is one of the reasons I was so concerned about getting into a bathroom just before I get on board. But it turns out that's not how it works. And the way I found this out is kind of interesting, because after the guy came and found me, and then he brought me to the travel booth, man, that was such a relief too, because I did need to go to the bathroom. And then, you know, he took my luggage and he said, oh, we'll take care of your luggage for you. And they put it beside the travel booth. And I was like, oh, thank goodness. I wish I could have done this 2.5 hours ago. That would have been nice. But I didn't know it existed. But anyway, now my luggage is there and I was free and easy. And then I could go find a bathroom and then come back. And then when I came back, it was time to go. Let's go, 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 go. And then we went out to a van. And the van was a real surprise to me, because I remember the ARW van as being quite large, not like super modern and luxurious, but it was a nice van. It was comfortable. I sat in the front, big seating area, nice comfortable seat. You know, everything in the van basically worked. Felt like it had power, you know, enough power to get up into the mountains. But at the airport in Padang, they brought me to a totally different vehicle. It was actually kind of an interesting vehicle, but it was like a very small van, same red and white color scheme, but it was old and rickety, and everything was broken. Everything was rattling and creaking. You climb into the front seat and everything, you know, you could see like on the dashboard, things were broken. I tried to close the door, but I couldn't even close the door because there was no door handle. Like, I saw the door handle on the dashboard. It broke off at some point. It was just sort of rattling around on the dashboard. And the seat was like hard, like rock hard. And I was forced into this weird upright position. And I could feel this heat radiating up from somewhere, because I could feel the heat of the engine or something, or the transmission. It was like I was sitting in a heated seat. And then we're like moving along. It was like rattling and banging and crashing. And he's going through the gears. And we barely seemed to have enough power to move on flat ground. And as we started to climb a little bit, and I thought, man, this van is never going to make it to Bukit Tinggi. I mean, we got a big climb ahead of us. Is this van even going to go there? So I was kind of surprised, you know. But then, there I am in this van, you know, bouncing up and down and rattling and shaking. Then we turn into the AWR office. They have an office right beside the airport. This van, the rickety van, all it does is shuttle people from the airport to the office. And at the office, that's where they have seating. You buy your ticket at the office, they write your name down, and then you get into the big van, the real van that goes to Bukit Tinggi. And I don't know if I can blame them for this, but again, if it were me on the customer service end dealing with me as a customer, I would have told me this. I would have told me, okay, when you arrive, go to our travel booth, and you can check in for the van, and then a shuttle van will pick you up and take you to our offices. There you will buy your ticket, and then you get into the real van. So at their offices, I had a chance to get organized, you know, to buy the ticket, talk to them about the schedule, when we're going to get there. Everything is formal and official, and they have a bathroom there that you can use, you know, just before you get into the van. And of course, it's a real comfortable van with a powerful enough engine, you know, to get up into the mountains. But I didn't know this. Now I know. If I ever did this again, the whole thing would be much more relaxing, much more easygoing, because I would know, oh, like I thought even the pickup time, you know, they're going to pick me up at 1:30, and I thought I had to be there exactly on time because they were going to be showing up with a van full of passengers, and they can't be waiting for me. You know, that would be inconveniencing all the other people. So I was really worried about being there on time and being organized. But it turns out the shuttle van was really just for me. You know, they're just going to come pick me up and bring me to the office. And at the office, that's when everything happens, and all the people, all the other passengers are waiting at the office, and we all get onto the main van together. Anyway, I didn't know any of this in advance, and they didn't explain any of it to me. So that's the way things turned out. And I didn't figure that. I figured out the office part first, of course, because they drove me there. But the whole problem with the travel branding, at that point, I still didn't even know that the travel booth was connected to AWR. I thought it was a different company. But then when we got to the office at Bukatingi, I waited there for a while. We showed up at 4, and then my friend Chati was going to come at 4:30, so I had half an hour just to sit around and look around me. And then I started to see all the signs, like here's AWR packages, AWR this, AWR, and then right here was travel. And that's where that's where I went before, you know, that's where the desk I went to buy my ticket, you know, when I did these sorts of things before. And so that their transportation arm is not called ARW, it's called travel. And I didn't even know that until we arrived. And then it's like the light bulb went off. It's like, oh, travel. I've jumped forward a little bit in time, in terms of the time today, because I only had one battery that was charged for my Olympus camera, and that battery just died, so I was busy charging it up again. Now I've got a little bit of power, and the battery wasn't fully charged, but I wanted to fire up the camera right away because the rain just started thundering down. It was so loud in here, I couldn't even hear myself think. And I wanted to capture some of that sound on video. But by the time I got the battery in there and I checked the previous video and I got the camera all set up again, the thunderous rain has stopped. But it is still raining steadily out there. So yeah, things are not looking good. Through a combination of, well, not a combination of anything, basically through poor planning. I'm here in Sumatra once again, just for the beginning of a rainy season. I have no working smartphone, and I'm up in a village where I'm completely incommunicado. Yeah, I don't know how I get myself into these situations, but I do it all the time. So I don't really know what's going to happen. You know, I could wake up tomorrow morning and there could be beautiful blue skies, and maybe I'll feel more inspired about going exploring here. But I mean, if the weather stays like this, I won't be doing what I set out to do. Yeah, it's miserable riding a bike in the rain anytime. You know, there's just no point to it. I mean, if you think of yourself as a really tough guy, and for some reason you're trying to prove to yourself how tough you are, you can still go bike touring in the rain and just be out there all day pedaling and the rain pouring down. But yeah, I don't really see the point, because yeah, it's just miserable, and you can't see anything anyway because it's just overcast and cloudy, and the roads will be incredibly dangerous too, slippery and traffic, and yeah, it's just no point. So if the weather really is this bad all the time, yeah, I'm not going to be doing any major bike touring while I'm here. You know, I might hop around a little bit to nearby places, but I won't be doing any 700-kilometer journeys to Bengkulu. That I can tell you. Eventually, I'm going to have to ride my bike back to Dumai, which will, you know, is a bit of a journey on its own. So we'll see. Yeah, things are in flux right now. We'll see what happens. But for today, I'm happy just to stay inside, listen to the rain out there, and drink my instant coffee. But I think I'm going to wind this down for now. The behind the scenes, I probably haven't even begun to touch on all the things that happened yesterday, my journey here, thoughts on my mind. But yeah, I think I will call an end to this behind the scenes journal podcast video for now. And I'll see you in the next one, and I'll report back, you know, I guess tomorrow morning, but by then I won't know anything new. I won't have gotten a SIM card yet, and I won't know anything about the weather, but we'll see. Maybe I'll have something else to talk about by tomorrow morning, because I have been listening to some fascinating podcasts, as I've mentioned a few times, and I keep listening to new ones. And yeah, my brain is sort of bubbling over with thoughts from these podcasts, and maybe I'll talk about those tomorrow morning. We'll see. All right, that's it. Shutting down here in the rain in Sumatra. I hope you're warm and dry wherever you are. I'll see you later.